Welcome to the Default Profitable Podcast. You're listening to the next episode. Today we're going to focus on what it takes to start, run, and grow a very specific targeted business. We'll be talking about some successes, some failures, and some real stories from a business owner. I'm your host, Matt Nettleton, and today my guest is Cindy Dunston Quirk. Cindy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Nice to be here. So we were talking before I hit record. We've known each other probably 20 years. We probably haven't talked for 15 of them.
Yeah.
Why don't you take 2 or 3 minutes and introduce yourself to the people that are listening?
I am Cindy Dunston Quirk. I'm the founder and chief dog lover at Scout and Zoe's, and we create the yummiest, most nutritious treats in the universe for the world's most deserving pets.
Wow.
In a nutshell.
So when did you start the business?
I started this, incorporated and everything in 2010. And the reason I started was because Zoe had allergies from the time she was 6 months old. She was our German Shepherd. And then by the time I actually got around to doing something about it, we had Scout, and he also had allergies. So if I hadn't figured something out, neither one of them would have had very good lives, but they both lived very nice, long, healthy lives because of what they showed me they needed.
So from when you discovered that your dog had allergies, what year was that?
Really, when she was 6 months old, that was in 2000.
Okay.
But it took me 10 years to do something about it.
Well, I was going to say. So one of the things that's been a theme, and you're like episode 102, but one of the things that's been a theme is that for most people, the gap between knowing they were going to start a business and starting a business is a number of years. And it sounds like
I didn't actually know I was going to start a business. I just knew that she was miserable and we couldn't keep putting her on antibiotics, every 6 months. And by the time, I like to call it being in between engagements. I don't like to say I got fired a lot, but I did. And in between engagements, I was really keen on figuring out something for Zoe and Scout to chew on. And I thought, okay, well, I can tan deer hide, but then I tried to contact deer hide processors or deer processors during deer season, which didn't work. And then for some strange reason, whether it was in the shower or right before I fell asleep, I hit on the idea of antlers and tested them out with my two, and then did some more testing around the neighborhood and thought, well, God, this is a great little product. And way back then, when you keyed in the search engine, antler dog chews, you didn't get 3 or 4 million hits. You only got a couple, and mine was one of them. So that set me off on that path. And then as things progressed and they started aging, they like the Chinese chicken jerky started killing a lot of pets, and so that was my line in the sand to start doing treats, because I thought about it and thought, yeah, this could be a great diversion, or not diversion, but a different path away from something that nobody knew anything about to everybody knows how to give a dog a treat. And that actually was the best, besides starting the company, that was the best decision I've ever made, because now we have over 100 SKUs. We started with 5, have over 100 now, and treats account for 90% of the annual revenue.
Okay. So when was the first time that you tested? So was antler your first treat?
Mm-hmm. It was our first product. Yeah, it was a chew. So a really hard chew that, exercised their jawbones, it cleaned their teeth. Because Zoe was allergic to beef and Scout was allergic to chickens.
Yes. Yep. All right. So when was the first time that you tested antler? Do you remember what year that was?
Oh yeah, it was 2009. And I can tell you where I was when I came up with the idea. I was at Rainmaker headquarters on the west side of Indianapolis, sitting there with Tony Celzo and some other people in the room. And I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, what business I wanted to start. And as I looked out the window, there was a dog running loose with a leash attached to its collar. So it had gotten loose. And every major decision that I've made with the company has had that kind of sign or imagery with it. But that was when I first thought of it, and then I tested them shortly after that. So it was late in 2009, and then I brought it to life in February of 2010. And I did it in 2 weeks. But by the time I had thought of the elk antlers and packaged it and branded it and did everything I needed to do to it to sell it, I had it in 2 weeks and debuted it at the Deer and Turkey Expo at the Boat Sport and Travel Show. So I was selling antlers to hunters.
Okay.
Not the best venue, but I sold 24 antlers. I've got my first $5 and $10 bills that I ever made at my sales, and it was off to the races after that.
So when you looked at the market, and there's two ends of the market, right? One end is I'm passionate about this, I'm going to do it. Hopefully, I can figure out how to pay the bills. The other is, hey, there's a good financial opportunity. I'll be able to buy groceries. This is great. I don't necessarily care about it as much. Which end of the spectrum were you on?
Neither really. I was just like, this is a great idea for my dogs,
You
and
there?
I thought there have to be a lot of other dogs in the world that have allergies, and every dog likes to chew. So I thought this was a great product. And then when I went to my first trade show in the spring of, well, no, the early summer of 2010. And when I got orders from Home Goods and Whole Foods, that was that was a great. I mean, right there, and I filled it out of our basement. My husband was cutting the antlers with a bandsaw, and I was I was packing them and filling them out of here. And when the semi came to pick up the loads, my husband thought, not a hobby, it's business. She got POs, it's a business. And that's where everything started. So just very humble beginnings. And I did not think I can make $1 billion with this, or this is going to be. I mean, I always do things in a large way. It's like go big or stay at home. But I never thought it was going to be about the money. And it never really has. It's always been about the dogs and the pets and how I could make their lives happier and healthier and better.
Okay. So now here we are 14 years later. Do you still have that same passion for the dogs and the pets?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Every day. Every day. In fact, I'm getting ready to go to a trade show in Las Vegas in a couple of weeks. And the last thing that goes into the pallets before they're shipped is a lint brush, because people bring their dogs and their birds and all kinds of animals to the trade show. And I wear things that I can get down on the floor with them and cuddle with them and love on them. So it's all about the animals. It always has been. It always will be. And I'd love to tell you that I'm a super multimillionaire, and I am here and in
Yeah.
my heart, but not in my bank account yet. It'll come. It just takes its time.
So so Scout and Zoe were both German shepherds?
No, Zoe was a German Shepherd, and Scout was a German Short-haired Pointer. So he was a bird dog,
Okay.
and they're both gone now. Zoe passed away in 2014. She was 14 years old, and Scout passed away in 2021. He was 13.
All right. Now, do you currently have a dog?
Oh yeah, I have three.
Okay.
Ziva, our German Shepherd, she's 8 years old. She's laying down here. We're outside because it's nice today. She's laying here at my feet, and then the puppies, two German short-haired pointers, Jake and Lucy, who are litter mates. They're roaming around, seeing what kind of small animals they can terrorize.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. So
I'd
if you
never,
were
I'd never be in a house without a dog. Sorry for the
it's
interrupt.
I
Never.
it's not a house without a dog. You can have kids, you can have a spouse, but you got to have a dog.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. When you look back 2010, when you're just getting started, what do you wish you had known that would have made it easier to grow?
I wish I had had more patience. That's something that I've not been blessed in abundance with. Um, and everything has really been a trial by fire because there's nothing in business school that, or any college degree or anywhere, even, I mean, even as much as Rainmakers preps you for some things, not anything prepared me to run a business. It's great that I have a business degree because now I understand financials and balance sheets and that kind of stuff. But you have to learn about logistics, you have to learn about packaging, you have to learn about how to go to market. Um, I wish I had had more capable professionals when I started because I relied on some people who I thought were very competent and they turned out not to be. So I've wasted a lot of money or spent a lot of money on people who really didn't know what they were doing.
Give me an example of that. Who you like? Not names, not people, but profession.
Bookkeepers, designers, attorneys, CPAs. I mean, the list, I think about a professional. It just, web designers, that's the hugest one right there is web designers. It's like people sell you a really great bill of goods, and I'm a pretty trusting person. You know, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. And in in many cases, that did not prove true. They didn't know what they were doing. And, you know, on your books, when you wind up with $1 million bag of carrots because the attorney or the CPA just kept dumping stuff into it because they didn't know where to put it, that's not a good thing. It's really not a good thing. And then you have to pay somebody else to correct it. It's like accounting is not my strong point. That's why I hire people to do it.
It's funny that you would bring up accounting or bookkeepers. The exact prior episode, we were talking about this, and the question was, you know, what's the advice? And his advice was get a good attorney and get a good bookkeeper. And I said, now, can I give you the advice that I was given, which was don't save money on your bookkeeper and don't save money on your attorney. Because if they're cheap, you don't want them.
That's true. But the other side of that is when they just roll you over a barrel and don't kiss you, that's not good either, especially if they don't know what they're doing and you wind up with that $1 million bag of carrots.
Yeah.
So you really don't know sometimes. You don't know what you don't know until you get into the thick of things. And then over the course of time, it's like, I'm so much wiser now.
Yeah.
And like I don't spend money on magazine advertising and things like that. It's just a lot of stuff that I just wish I had. I wish I had all that money back because it's tens of thousands of dollars that I'd be able to turn into inventory or R&D or stuff like that. That it's just gone.
So, which is now the next thing that I want to. So you just kind of threw out, magazine ads and everything. From a marketing standpoint, since this is, are you selling direct to consumers or are you selling to businesses to sell to consumers? Because you mentioned selling to Home Goods and Whole Foods. Which
But
direction are you headed?
we do both. We do
Okay.
both. We have a website that we're in the process of redesigning at this point. We're going to rebrand here in probably about 6 or 7 months because it's time for a facelift again. You have to do that every so often. And we have sold wholesale the entire time I've been in business. It started off where I thought I would have an online business. I'd run it out of my garage. It'd be really easy and it'd be all direct to consumer. And that went out the window in a hurry. That is not the way it turned out because wholesale, for some reason, has been very, very easy for me. And I'm not sure if that's because I was in business and I sold B2B for so many years and in previous lives. But the direct to consumer has never been, in the past, has never been a strong channel for us. But I'm hopeful that it will be because we're picking up some steam on Amazon. And when the website now, the direct to consumer website is more profitable than it has been, but up to this point, it's more or less been a piece of information that people went to before they went to the store.
So and you can tell me you don't want to answer, but what percent of your business has been wholesale versus direct to consumer?
Oh, wholesale by far is like 90%.
Okay. All right. So that's a,
In,
a
in
completely different direction than you.
Yeah, in the past, wholesale has been as much as 99% because there have been times where we've gone a couple of months without getting an order on our website. So, and I'm just finishing up today a new wholesale website that's on a new platform. So hopefully for the wholesale customers, it'll be a better experience than it has been in the past. But for direct to consumer, it's going to be a bigger experience or a better experience for them from us, because we have treats and food that are totally different that you won't find anywhere else in the market.
All right. If somebody comes to you and says, Cindy, I'm thinking about starting my own business, do you encourage them or you discourage them? And how do you do it?
I ask them a lot of questions first. It's like, what's your idea? What are you thinking? Tell me a little bit more about it. How in depth have you gone? What's your R&D like? What kind of statistics do you have? If it's a multi, if there's several different layers beyond it, the top one, what do you plan on specializing in? And then I think about it and go, it really just depends on their answers. Sometimes it's like, that's a great idea. That's a wonderful idea. You should take it and run with it. And then other times I'm just, me, I'm pretty blunt and I haven't changed. I'll just go, that's a really shitty idea. You shouldn't do that because you're not going to get anywhere with it. And it's tough love. But sometimes if nobody else will tell you, somebody who's been in the trenches and have been up to their ass in alligators, you really have to have that sort of a friend to say, you got a lot of competition. It's going to be an uphill battle, and you should be prepared for it and have a lot of money in your treasure trove because you're going to need it.
So if you go back, how many of these conversations, or what percent do you think do you encourage people, and what percent you end up saying, "Are you sure? This sounds like a bad idea."
I'd say more often than not, it's a good idea, but tempered with, depending on if you do the research and if you have the resources, and something doesn't come along like on TikTok and steal your idea before you get hold of it. More times than not, it's giving them a green light and saying, go for it. Especially if they're really, really passionate about it. I do some work with Ball State. I go up there and volunteer my time to the entrepreneurial students every semester. And they come in with questions about their projects, their senior projects, or what their businesses they think they want them to be. And we have some really frank conversations. And sometimes it's not pretty, but they don't need to be. And I'm not rude about it. I'm not really. I think that you should take this and you're dead to me. Go like the Kevin O'Leary, you take it out to the barn and shoot it. I don't do that, but you really should maybe pivot in this direction, or give them some. It's not quite sugar coated, but it's not the harsh love that I would give somebody who's one of my peers.
And now this is just me being curious, because I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask you, what percent of the people that you give the "Are you sure about it" end up ignoring you and go ahead and do it anyway?
Oh, a very high percentage. Oh, almost every single one of them, because
Yeah.
they think they know better. They know better than somebody who's been in business for 14 years. It's like, okay, see you down the road. I'm gonna check on you. I'm gonna check on you to see what's going on. But yeah, more times than not, they don't listen because they don't want to.
Right.
They're convinced, and you can't convince someone who is very certain of something. You can't convince them otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah, that's been my experience, is when people are supremely certain that they are correct.
Pretty much.
Yeah, they don't really listen. All
Matt
right.
froze. There
Yeah.
you go.
All right. So let's pretend that 2024 Cindy could go back to 2010 Cindy, the night before you opened up. And you get to say, "Hey, listen, everything works out, you make it. But here's the thing that you need to focus on first." What's that thing?
Ooh. Complementary sales channels.
What's that?
Complementary sales channels like for so long we went down the wholesale path, and it has been great, but there have been bumps in the road where the economy tanks, and then nobody goes into pet stores, so then pet stores aren't ordering product, and then all of a sudden we don't have any sales. So I think that it's wise not to have all your eggs in one basket, so to speak, and to have. I should have, if 2024 Cindy is talking to 2010 Cindy, I'd tell her to be more aware of direct to consumer and give it some love, to massage it along the way, to where, when you get to 2024 Cindy and she's going, well, crap, this is a whole nother business that I'm starting doing direct to consumer. Even though we've had it forever, we've never really paid attention to it. If I'd massaged it along the way, it would have been much easier to say, okay, well, now we're going to spend even more money on it and make it work.
All right. That's a quick 21 minutes, but is there anything else that you would describe to a new or aspiring business owner?
You got to inject a lot of fun into what you do, because if it's not fun, it's really not worth it. Even if it's a bright, shiny object and you can make a lot of cash really quickly, it's if it's not fun, why get up out of bed in the morning? And not to take yourself so seriously. I'm working with that new wholesale platform, and they do not have a way to customize these emails that would get triggered, like when you register on the site, and it's like, oh, your order shipped. It's just these very vanilla things. And I want them to be fun and memorable, and they can't do them because they said it's 6 months down the road. But I want to inject humor into everything that I do to keep it fun, because what I do isn't life and death, but it can be. It can be if it's a contaminated product like the Chinese chicken jerky in 2011 or 2012. So for aspiring entrepreneurs or people who are just on the knife's edge of adhesion of starting a business, I'd say passion isn't going to get you everywhere, but it gets you further down the road than if you didn't have it. Fun and humor both go a long way, because there have been some days where I am just so jazzed to get up and get out of the bed. And then some days where it's just like, it takes everything I've got to get up and get out of the bed, because it's so draining and so ground into the minutia of running the business that you have to be ready for that. And if you approach it with that, I get to do this instead of I have to, that goes a long way too.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with enjoying it.
No, yeah, you have to. And if people have questions, I'm all about not reinventing the wheel. So I give back a lot. I answer questions from people that I don't know, that just say, I've got this question about these products. I want to pick your brain, and I'm usually open for that.
Well, that's good. And that's probably another big lesson is the people that are the most open are the most successful. And nobody's going to steal your antler business because you answered a question. That's just not the way the world works.
There's plenty of business to go around. There's a lot of abundance. Yeah. And I went to the Middle East last December, and we're just about to sign a distributor over there. So there's plenty of business globally. And if the U.S. business isn't great, then the Middle East business will be. And so there's plenty to go around. Plenty of people have pets.
Yep.
And they love them all just like we do.
Yes. Yep. All right. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap up. I want to remind everybody that if you're interested in Cindy and her business, you can find more information and resources in the show notes at Default Profitable. And hey, if you've listened this long, there's 3 ways you can help us. Leave a review wherever you're listening, subscribe wherever you're listening. And if you hear something interesting, share the episode with somebody that you like. Cindy, thank you for being a guest. I appreciate it very much.
Thanks. It's good to see you, Matt.
Good to see you as well. And for our listeners, we'll be back next week with another episode of Default Profitable. Until then, stay focused, keep working, stay profitable.